Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel, where everything you're about to hear and see has been done in one take. I'm your host, the One Take Man. As of the time of this video's publication, it will be a few days until Sky High, an all-ages superhero comedy, will celebrate its 20th anniversary. Produced by Andrew Gunn, directed by Mike Mitchell, and written by Paul Hernandez, with some rewrites by the co-creators of Kim Possible, Bob Schooley and Mark McCorkle, this movie had a decent box office return, even though it wasn't necessarily a blockbuster, and it also had some reviews, critical reviews, that were at the very least decent. Yet in spite of that, its post-release reputation is somewhat mixed, so to speak. There are people who, don't want anything to do with this movie on principle. That principle being that it is a Disney movie about high school drama that follows some non-established superhero characters, which in terms of the state of the cinema at the time of this movie's release was basically the perfect storm for a cash grab. And the fact that this movie had what one could call an all-star cast uh, didn't wasn't really enough to mitigate the concerns some people would have had in that direction. Of the people who did see it, there are those who think of it as as a nice little popcorn flick that is nice to look at if you have nothing else on, and and then there are those who take it just a little bit more seriously and who find themselves disappointed by the inclusion of one particular narrative element that that they find ends up derailing the message of the movie. Personally, I find that all three categories of people that I mentioned, those who didn't see it, those who don't think much of it, and um, those who focus on the narrative element of it, to all be wrong for reasons I'll delve into soon enough. Until I do so, however, I should first give you a summary of my impressions. And that summary is that this movie is deceptively good. What do I mean by that? I mean that by that I mean that from its somewhat simplistic premise, it nevertheless manages to take the lore and the tropes that are that can be found within within the types of stories that it is maybe riffing on, and manages to add quite a bit of wit, charm, and complexity to what is otherwise a pretty simplistic setting, all things considered. Even though a lot of the even though a lot of the stuff it focuses on about superheroes is anachronistic and was anachronistic even in its time, the movie still manages to utilize all of the all of these narrative elements in order to create exciting an exciting story that is bound to connect to its to its viewers in one way or another. So if anything you've heard about this movie so far has captured your attention, then I really see no problem in recommending it to you. And now that I'm done with the general information, it's time I delved just a little bit deeper. The plot of this movie follows Will Stronghold, who who is the son of the two most well-known and respected superheroes within the world of the movie, as he is about to start his own journey into superheroics by visiting the titular high school for superheroes. Yeah, I said superhero a lot of times there. Happens. Once he arrives at that high school, though, he finds himself pitted against a disruptive and forceful order. one that separates him from his friends, and also and one that the villains also employ in order to fulfill their goals. And Will finds himself in the unique position of being the one most adept at at addressing the menace that the villains of this movie present. I'm gonna go against my typical no spoiler policy on this movie and say that the main reason this movie gets criticized is the fact that while initially Will seems to not have any superpowers, he gets to acquire some over the course of this movie. Some people, a lot of people view this as a bug in the machine, but I personally see it as a feature, because if you actually look at the way the movie is put together, the the actual emergence of these powers is directly correlated, or one could say connected, to Will's personal character development. He becomes a more adept hero by becoming a better person. In fact, when looking at the reception of this movie, and perhaps somewhat more broadly its legacy, I can't help but be reminded of another story that came to prominence around the same time frame, namely Naruto, because just like Naruto, Sky High initially appears to be a story about an underdog hero who manages through hard work and personal enterprise to overcome his opponents who are more naturally skilled or gifted or whatever have you. But over the course of the story, it is revealed that it is actually a story about self-discovery, about finding your own strengths, and about finding ways to integrate those strengths within the existing order, potentially reforming it along the way. And funnily enough, just like in Naruto, the villain of the piece is one who, while initially somewhat well adapted to the existing social order, seeks to tear it down. And to her credit, the main villain actually has a lot of actually came up with a pretty clever plan in terms of that would effectively allow her to accomplish that goal. And that plan also seems to how that happens. That plan also seems to put the main character in a position where he has to confront his faults and try to where he has to confront his faults and see what comes out. And once he is able to, grow as a person, he becomes more capable of contending against those who have not been able to make that growth. And I have to say that the plot, which places not just the main villain and the main hero against each other, but also the one which effectively connects the entirety of at least the high school age extended cast, or not extended, supporting cast, is actually done quite well. It is intricate without being overly complex. The audience always has a good idea in mind of what exactly is supposed to be going down, and they always have a good good grasp on what exactly fuels all of the developments that the story itself presents. With one exception to that rule, namely the climax, which I find to be somewhat rushed. Either the producer, the director, or at least one of the writers um, had one particular idea for how this movie was supposed to end, but that idea maybe came a little bit too late into pre-production, and therefore they weren't able to really do a lot of the legwork in order to establish how that would happen. It's not a it's not, it doesn't break the movie, it doesn't make it very much worse, but it is still a noticeable flaw that I want to comment upon. As far as characterization goes, it is very good. Like like I am actually teetering between excellent and perfect here. Not only does not only does the main character get an interesting and exciting character arc, but also a lot of the supporting cast, be it either high school age characters or those of the parent slash teacher generation, all of them get to have their own moments to shine, and they are presented in a very in an immersive, naturalistic manner that allows the audience as well as the rest of the cast to to get to know them, and it also allows the audience to build some meaningful connections to them, either because these characters remind them of their own high school phases, or because they recognize that they know or knew someone who was very much like that. Okay, maybe not as much as a caricature, but still, basically that. And that has helped a lot, not just by the writing itself, though that is most of what makes the high school students work, but what makes the older generations work is very much the acting. Not only is everyone very well cast, but they all lean a lot into the archetypes, and they very much have their own fun with it, to the point where readers are also not readers, viewers are drawn into their adventures, their perspectives, their escapades. When it comes to the world building, I also have to say that it is done quite well. I've already mentioned that the movie very effectively integrates its narrative elements within the development of its plot, and and it manages to do so in a manner that doesn't overwhelm the viewer. And the previously mentioned social order present not just in the high school but in a broader sense within the society is quite effectively presented, and and gives the audience a decent overview of what it is that is actually going on throughout the throughout this movie. Also, it has a surprising degree of aura to it, particularly if you're within what I imagine the the target audience of this movie would be. With plenty of emphasis coming into what it is, coming into the presentation of this setting, and of the various relationships that exist therein. Of particular note here are the action scenes, actually, because while the action is from an objective viewing standpoint, while the action is comparatively small, the way in which it is presented really allows it to have a more sizable, more significant impact to it. So, especially to the viewer, one that very much matches the narrative impact that these scenes are supposed to have. And I can very much attribute that to the soundtrack and the cinematography, which are the work of Michael Giacchino and Shelley Johnson, respectively. Overall, while there are some parts of this movie that I think, that I don't think really live up to their potential, the the concept and execution that is present throughout, that creates the backbone of this movie, and also its general musculature is quite impressive to behold, and makes for an exciting cinematic development, one which delivers an eye-catching and very enjoyable story. My final rating for Sky High is a 4 out of 5. And yeah, that was my review. Thank you for your attention. If you enjoyed it, well then please like the video, maybe even share it wherever you think other people will also like the video. If you have anything you'd like to add, either to the movie itself or to my review of it, that's what the comment section is for. And if you want to see when my next video gets released, well then, please subscribe. And ideally also ring the bell or do whatever else YouTube will ask of you in order to keep you notified. I also have a main channel where I talk about book-related and literature topics, a link to which you can find in the description down below. Right past my social media links, which I also suggest you check out, should you choose to. If you are less than interested in my thoughts on the print medium, then I suggest you stay on this channel, where aside from movie reviews, I also do TV show reviews, or pitches for movies and TV shows, or social commentary, or gameplay, anything that's on my mind, really. If that doesn't sound interesting to you either, then I suggest you go ahead and do whatever you want the rest of your day, because it is your day after all. And yeah, that was it for me. So, until next time, I have been the One Take Man.